All right, getting connected here. Just want to ensure that we give it enough time to get connected. I know that sometimes we are already connected as it's saying that it's still connecting. So, just want to ensure. Got my feedback going on here. Bear with me, guys. I'm just getting this set up here. Okay. It appears we are on Facebook. And so, guys, it's been a few days since I've been on here, and we have the pleasure of having Pastor Chris Rose with us today from Hawthorne. And just wanted to really have the opportunity and the pleasure of just spending a few minutes with Pastor Chris, just kind of hearing his heart. We've been really running together for the past, I don't know, how long has it been now?
About 8 weeks.
8 weeks now. He's been bringing a team of people down, a crew from Hawthorne, to just really become more exposed to the deliverance ministry, whereas they're getting delivered and also learning. Let me just make sure we are, we're good to go on live Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So awesome. Now, a couple things before we get into the interview. I just want to share, number one, that we've got some pretty amazing things coming up. We're going to be going to Honduras. What were the dates we established for that? Tentatively?
Yeah, I think we said the 10th of August through the 21st or 23rd.
Okay. So yeah, about basically 10 days, 11 days, or somewhere thereabouts. Anyway, we're going to be going to Honduras, where Pastor Chris has actually extended the invitation. Pastor Chris was a missionary down there for 9 years, and he's the pastor of a church up in Hawthorne, Florida at this time. And it's just been, just a really one divine appointment after another since we connected. And, God's just really doing some amazing things. But let's see, I've got a gentleman coming from Sweden at the end of August. So when we get back from Honduras, I'm going to have a gentleman here with his brother that is going to be running with us for about 10 days, doing some discipleship, some deliverance training, just a gentleman who wants to become more exposed to the deliverance ministry. And so that's exciting. We're setting up a time to be in Michigan in September. That was pretty crazy how that came about. I'll tell you the story more as it unfolds in further details. But anyway, so Pastor Chris, let's just get started in the interview. Number one, I just want to be able to kind of pull on you a little bit because number one, I am fascinated by you as a person, as a minister, and I really just kind of want to get the YouTube audience and the Facebook audience connected to the ministry, more acquainted with who you are, who's this Pastor Chris that just kind of came on the scene, and where this all started. And so let's start from there. Where did you first get connected with us?
Well, I connected with you on Facebook, and
YouTube.
I connected with you on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I seen the page and went to YouTube and started watching videos. At the time, I was looking at a lot of deliverance.
Was it Facebook?
I seen you on Facebook,
Okay.
but it was YouTube that I really started learning who you are, because when you watch someone in a video, it's better than a picture. You get to see the real guy.
Absolutely. Awesome. So what led you to begin searching out deliverance ministry?
It started around 10 years ago. I was in Honduras, and the Lord just put me face to face with the deliverance ministry there. An American had come down, a man, Joe Miles was his name, from Michigan, 78 years old, and he was, it's a long story, but I showed up at a church where he was ministering, and it blew my mind. He at that time was ministering to women, and he had lined them up in a long line, asked them to come up and stand in line, and he began to speak over them. And as he began to speak over them, he began to see things. And later he asked all the Christian men to get up and come and stand in front of these women to start interceding for them, which I did. And of course, I started interceding with my eyes open because I wanted to see what was going on. And it was amazing that this man, without actually touching these ladies, began to see things and calling the demons out. And afterwards, after seeing a half a dozen ladies delivered that night, I told him, you've got to show me what you see, because I didn't see these things that he saw. And so for the next 3 days, he walked with me side by side in other deliverance sessions, and began to teach me, and then he gave me some books from Derek Prince, and that started me out.
Okay. Now, I've not ever, I don't know if I've ever heard that part of the story before, but what was the, why was he ministering to women specifically? Was that just that evening?
Well,
or?
just that evening he
Okay,
was,
I see.
okay? In the other sessions he was ministering to different people.
I see.
All
Just-
people, I should say,
Yeah.
even children, okay? But
That's-
that night, it was like the night for the ladies. It
I
was
see.
ladies' night in
Yeah.
Rio.
That's good. Yeah, I actually I remember when I was a young teenager. I remember the minister, Pastor Billy Burke. I went to go see him, and he ended up inviting the young people to come forward. So that was an evening for the young people to receive ministry. So
Yes, probably.
that makes sense. Awesome. Now, so that was 10 years ago.
Yes.
You saw some deliverance, ministered in deliverance in Honduras.
Yes, I was headed to a place that was known to be a haven for witches. A lot of witchcraft in a place called La Mesquitia in the jungle area of Honduras.
Yeah.
And this stop was on the way. So I believed and still believe that the Lord set me up then for that next trip. And actually it was on the way. But that time in the jungle, I didn't see a lot.
Yeah.
I seen some things, but I went home, I started studying. And one of the things that Brother Joe told me that those few days, when he went to leave, one of the last things he said was, wherever you go now, they'll know you. Because in the supernatural world, it's a small world. And I didn't understand what he was talking about. So, and that trip seemed to be okay, but the next trip, about a month later, I took a group of 5 young men that I was in ministry with, and in that trip, a demonized boy came at me trying to kill me, unprovoked, as if I had a big sign on me that said, "This guy's trouble." And then another village at night. This time, another young man tried to kill me.
Wow.
Okay, and so these assaults was with these young men. They had their eyes closed and they had their teeth gritting, and it was amazing to see them maneuver with their eyes shut, but
Yeah.
they did. And so that was my introduction basically to the deliverance ministry. When someone wants to do bodily harm to you,
Yeah.
it gets personal really fast.
Sure.
And so I began to study harder when I got home this time. And so,
And that's how you connected with us?
well, that's how I connected with the deliverance ministry, and that was like I say, a long time ago. But
I see.
after that, I came to the States and I began to look for people that were in the deliverance ministry to learn more. So since that time,
Yeah.
I have been actively pursuing information, deliverance ministry. I've connected with other people, but you just happen to be very accessible,
Yeah.
and that's how I came here.
Okay.
Because of your accessibility, I showed up on your Thursday meeting, and here I am.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was about 9 weeks ago now, was the first time you showed up, and you've been coming back ever since. Did we go? You've been coming every week since then?
Yes,
The
every
first
week
time?
since then, and of course I invited John up to Hawthorne, which we had a great time, and
Yeah.
I began to bring people down from Hawthorne to be delivered and to learn about deliverance, because the best disciples for deliverance ministry are those that have been delivered.
It's true. Yeah, Jesus said, freely you've received, now freely give. And so, we obviously led to believe that what they were giving, they had been receiving, right?
Yeah.
So, very, very, very interesting observation in Scripture, right? But, Pastor, just from an outside perspective, and I've not ever really asked you this, and so I think it'd be great for just like the setting of a live stream, but what is your take on our ministry since being introduced to it, and and has it been the fit that you were looking for?
Well, I think that my take would be is that what you see on the video is what you get with Brother John. Okay, and so that's the good part, and that's the safe zone that I was looking for. I was
Awesome.
looking for someone who was real, who was the same, in the video, in the light, as they are in the person. And so my take is that it's real. John is real. He's sincere, and the things that he's teaching is the things he believes in his heart. And yeah, it's just real.
Yeah. So have you seen fruit in your progress sticking around with us?
Certainly, yes. I've learned a lot of things from you, John, and I expect to learn more. I'm compiling, all the information that I can, but what really makes a difference is to get in there and get your hands dirty. Okay, that's where you learn.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
When you do battle in the spirit realm, that's where you learn.
On that note, when you mentioned you've learned a lot, that I could definitely say the same about you. And some of the things that I've learned from your life experience is that there are actually people who are unorthodox in the sense where they have a heart that is surrendered in many ways in which a lot of Christian ministers' hearts are not surrendered. Now that's kind of a blanket statement, so I'm not looking to to make that an accusatory statement on a Christian minister, but my what I've learned from you is that a lot of pastors, for example, would be willing or not willing, I should say, to risk certain things, but you've put a lot on the line in what God is doing through you. Would you say that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because the truth is, Christendom as a norm, the church the church in America, at least as we know it, is unfortunately in a trap of a time to come together, to feel good, to get enlightened, and to do your duty. Sometimes that means putting something in the offering plate, and sometimes it means doing a service in the church or through the week, and going home and doing it all over again next week. The minute you bring about something like the deliverance ministry, which causes people to be confronted face to face with reality of who they are, reality of who the enemy is in them, you put things on the line. At the same time,
That's It's worth it.
I've been pursuing, or I've been walking forward in this same path for many years, like I told you. So it's not, to me, it's not that I just put something on the line. It's who I am.
That's my point. Is that you kind of live that life where you live your life on the line. Which is in all reality what exactly we're supposed to do. We're supposed to live. Die to ourselves, and anyway, I'm just really impressed, and I just want to honor you with my ministry audience, followers, and those connected with us, because I am extremely intrigued by your ability to really understand that you, in your pastoral position, is literally shaking up the norm, the culture, the religious culture, and I just think it's phenomenal with what God's doing in your life and in your ministry, and I'm excited to be a part of it and to run with you.
Well, thank you, John. I'm excited to be with you too, and I appreciate the compliment. And there are many men like myself, like yourself, that are out there waiting to partner with someone that will go the extra mile, take the extra step. And the Bible says iron sharpens iron, and they're out there. And YouTube and Facebook are awesome ways to reach those people that are waiting for someone to connect with.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I posted the prophecy by, it wasn't really a prophecy, it was just an insight that Jeremiah Johnson had shared, and he said that, he believes that there's just a radical group of, passionate, fire-filled believers out there that is rising up in this hour that can't find someone else within 100 miles that has that can understand them. And they're willing to quit their job and drive across country to connect with and study under someone who basically is going at the same pace or faster than they are, so that they can be discipled. And I really believe we're in that hour. And he also talked about how the grain or the mold of this forerunning, passionate, fire-filled believer of today is really going to challenge the mold of the ones from the past who have gone on before them, and that there might be a little bit of a clash because they don't necessarily understand. They might even be deemed and labeled as rebellious or what have you, because the people just don't necessarily understand their fire, and they don't understand their passion and their zeal.
That's right.
And so I've actually gone through a lot of that myself. I've experienced that myself, where I've had a lot of people who haven't understood me or the ministry, and because it causes a lot of friction. It really wrestles and argues the modern day theological positions of most Christians, by and large, guaranteed, and which is understandable when you get into the things that we get into and get involved with. And I remember I was just talking with a young lady yesterday on the phone. It was the young lady that I'm going up to Michigan concerning, and I was just describing the ministry and the things that we've experienced, and I basically described how many believers go through deliverance when they come to our service or when we go to their church. And I gave an illustration. I've got many illustrations, but where we went to Dade City, and I shared with the people after about an hour of teaching, that 90% of the people that we minister to that are Christians go through deliverance. And I kind of interjected in that moment and said, you probably have heard much of what I've said for the past hour and maybe been challenged a little bit, but when I say something like that, you know, that's probably like many people in here are probably like, whoa, I just don't know what to think about that. 90% seriously, John George, you know? And I said, but don't worry, we're going to demonstrate that. And sure enough, 90% of the people at that service went through deliverance, including the pastor, you know, which is not uncommon in this.
Right.
That's the whole thing, is that, you know, in our day and age, in our culture, in even in our church culture, to believe that a Christian has a demon is to, growing up on Hollywood like we have literally been given a picture by the devil, because he is prevalent in Hollywood, in all these horror movies and different things like that. They're all him. They're all inspired by him. And so he tries to paint a picture of himself so that, you know, when the truth comes along,
Right.
you won't accept it. And you know, so anyway, I'm just you know, it's been for myself as a minister in where I've been for the past few years. It's been a trying road. So having Pastor Chris come along, and the different connections that we've had, and the people that God has put on our ministry team as of late, is just a tremendous blessing. And I truly value and appreciate those who are willing to, you know, to go against the grain, to go against modern day culture, and would rather stand on the biblical based culture of the Bible, and, you know, the biblical times, and that they have not passed away, that they're still now, that Jesus, you know, is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and his gifts are definitely helping many people, just as they did then, and just as we were commanded to carry the baton forward. And anyway, I really am blessed that we've had this opportunity. What else would you have to say?
Well, I would have many things to say, but
Go
I
ahead.
would say that if you're probably if you're already tuned in to John George's ministry, and you're looking for deliverance, or that you're trying to learn, perhaps to help someone else, I would say if you're you know, if you're close by, we're 3.5 hours north of John, and we come down every week. It's a
One way, 3.5 hours.
yeah, one way. It's a small thing to go in and to learn how to be more like Jesus. Okay, come if you're close by, come, and if you're not, then you know, ask the Lord, and He will provide. He always will provide. He will provide a way for you to go forward in deliverance, or to learn more about it. There's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there. But I just believe that as we seek God together, even as a group of people that connect only on video, as we seek the Lord together, then the revelation that we're looking for will happen.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of my life is when I get serious, when I cry out for help, there's always help that shows
That's right.
up. So come if you can, and if you can't, just keep looking at these videos and other deliverance ministries that you can access on the internet.
Absolutely.
And God will bless.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really tremendous statement. We were actually just meeting with pastor, friend of Pastor Chris is from Honduras. He actually lives in Honduras. We met with him for brunch today, and you know, we were talking about just the various testimonies that we've received, just, you know, through our ministry, of the videos that we've launched on YouTube, where people have just even gotten delivered by watching the general deliverance video, and the Jezebel video, and even some of the teachings. We've had people have messaged and emailed and commented and said that, you know, just even watching the teachings where they began to go through deliverance, because Jesus says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And when the truth is being released, you know, about the Spirit of the Lord, there are amazing things that can happen at some of the most unsuspecting times. And I think that's one of the good things that I'd really like to just add in this moment, is that, you know, we had a testimony just recently of a woman named Lisa who came and got delivered at our service. And she said in the week prior, she had multiple people speak into her life and said the following words that they said to her, just basically don't get caught up in your mind. Don't try to put God in a box. Don't think about it too much. And so she said she needed that because she's a very analytical person.
Are you busy?
Yep. And so anyway, she said that when she came to our service, that she, you know, was sitting there and she was surrendering to the Lord, and she just said, Lord, have your way. I'm not going to try to figure this out. I'm not going to try to think about it. And I think a lot of times the enemy will actually limit people in their ability to receive by causing them to try to box or conform. If they're receiving ministry, they might think it has to go a certain way or what have you, and that can actually limit you. You're just supposed to be an open book before the Lord and just be like, Lord, whatever course of action you want to take. Sometimes his answers don't come to us in the way we think they should. And anyway, that was just had to have been the Lord, because that came out of left field. But it's very, very good and very important. So Pastor Chris, that was my wife that was just calling for me. So I'm going to have to get off the live stream here. But is there anything that you'd like to share before we cut out?
No, just God is good.
Amen. Hopefully there'll be more of these, and with Pastor Chris. And guys, thanks for watching. And just comment on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel, and just let Pastor Chris know through your comments, how he blessed you today. And thanks so much.